not outdone is crypto land. This is by far the scammiest industry ever to come down the pike in 1,000 years. And that's what makes part of being a Bitcoin maximalism difficult, is that you're dealing literally, in a shit show. You've got something that's valuable and you're in a cyclone of shit, and people are just yelling at you like, fuck you. That's, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? It's like, we're going to protect this. We're going to keep it pure. We're going to keep it Bitcoin. And, so now it's a new cycle. We got a new scam coming. We're ready for it. Who cares? Fuck you. Hit me with your best shot. We're still going to a lot higher in hyper Bitcoinization. Yeah, well said. And, talking about the VCs in Bitcoin perpetuating various scams to try to grab people's Bitcoin. Somebody asked me how the Bitcoin 22 conference in Miami compared with other previous conferences, and I said the difference is that the suits are nicer, right? So these cycles of scammers have been with us since the beginning. Bitcoin has attracted scammers right from day one, and we went through a lot of different scams over the years. Remember the whole Dan Larimer period? He came up with 5 or 6 scams, big scams, and I can name others. The big cyclical and cyclical, and you see the market cap names change over the years. Bitcoin always stays at the top, and now we've got like these Wall Street types and VCs and hedge fund guys with nicer suits. They've gone down the Dan Larimer route. They've gone down the shitcoin route, and they get washed out. So this is a big washout. Took out the last 2 or 3 years of scammers. Big scammers. We start a new cycle. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember, who was that guy? He was popular for a while. He wears a bow tie all the time.
Jeffrey Tucker.
Yeah, Jeffrey Tucker. Jeffrey Tucker was I believe he was at the Prague conference, and he presented Bitcoin as gold. So he was making the case that Bitcoin was a store of value and digital gold. The situation in Bitcoin is the volatility. So when you have a collapse, and we've had 3 80% collapses over the years, everyone's assumptions just gets blown out the window. Doesn't matter what you think it is. When you have an 80% collapse, you're just kind of in the middle of a storm, and now you're in the water and you're swimming and you don't know what's going on. And I think a lot of times during those 80% collapses, people's timelines get distorted. So if you have, like we saw the price go from $30 back to $1, and all the people who were talking about all the great things for Bitcoin coming in different places in the economy, suddenly you're thinking, well, maybe it's going to take longer than we thought. We thought this was going to happen in another few years. Maybe it's going to take 20 years. Okay, then Bitcoin, bam, there it is. It's up to 1,000. You're like, oh, this is great. We're going to build an entire future on this. Then crashes down to 200. And you're like, oh, well, maybe it's going to take another 10 or 15 years. Then zoom, it goes up to 20,000. And you're like, hey, we were right all along for these past 5 or 6 years. There's going to be a new future. And then crashes down to 3,800. And you're like, oh, maybe this is going to take 10 or 15 years. Oh, now it's at 70,000. We were right. It's going to be a brand new future. Everything's going to be like we said it was going to be. Boom. Now down to 28,000, 28,500. So, every time you have one of these moves, 50, 60, 70, 80% move, you're thinking, oh, well, maybe it's going to take 10 years, not 2 years. In that case, well, maybe I should get a hobby. I should start raising pigs. Maybe I'll start some shit coins like Dan Larimer. Maybe I'll buy, a casino. Maybe, right? So your mind wanders during these extreme periods of volatility, and I think that's a big problem. And then suddenly the price catapults and it jumps. Oh, it's at 150. It's at 200,000. Oh, we were right all along. This is what's going to happen. So this is just the volatility is incredible. That major cycle of dollarization and lower interest rates starting in the Reagan period, that all came crashing down in February 24th. That's just dead. It's
February 26th it actually happened. February 24th was the beginning of the war where Russia invaded Ukraine. That was one moment, but the United States had a choice, and that choice they made on February 26th, which was to demonetize U.S. Treasuries, to turn it into a UST instead. The UST shitcoin, a Terra UST shitcoin. That happened February 26th of 2022. So as Stacey Herbert predicted, the U.S. dollar did not last past its 50th birthday.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
it did not hit 51.
That's right.
So that happened.
That happened. And that's a major cycle. And then the shitcoin cycle hit a major inflection point in the last month or so. It had been since 2017, and the ICO craze was the buildup of all the shitcoin heroes of the past 4 years, I would say. The names, we can get into them or not get into them, but the latest names in both shitcoinery and hedge funnery and media funnery had a big move, and now they've been kind of washed out, wiped out, decimated. Another cyclical, those two cycles hit at the same time. De-dollarization and this fourth or fifth shitcoin cycle both hit simultaneously.
There will be another shitcoin cycle. It'll be the CBDCs. It'll be the central banks. It will be the governments. But, what happened is, as you get further and further into hyper-Bitcoinization,
your habits are very bad because you're not really doing your due diligence. What the thing about Luna with Novogratz is that, which is kind of surprising, is that apparently they did no due diligence whatsoever. The number of people who were going out and just pinpointing in great detail the extent to which this thing was a scam, an obvious Ponzi, is huge. From the top analysts who do know what they're talking about, down to even some of the fellow scammers. I saw a few scammers out there saying, I'm a scammer, but this takes the cake. This is the scammiest scam of all. So there was no due diligence whatsoever. And to your point, the losses on the books appear to be, we don't know yet because he's gone radio silent, but it appears as though these losses were unhedged. Hedge fund, it says in the name, hedge, right? You're supposed to be hedged. It seems like they were just, they had an unhedged position in this, and it just got decimated, which is also another surprising part of this. But, the thing is that just because you're a scammer before you got into quote unquote crypto doesn't make you any less of a scammer in crypto. It's like, it's a great story with Blythe Masters. Remember when she was at JP Morgan, she was rigging the silver markets. Pretty obvious, well-documented story of Blythe Masters and the silver market rigging. And then thanks to Crash JP Morgan Buy Silver campaign that we did, she got fired. And next thing she did, she popped up in something called blockchain. That's right, blockchain. So you took the same scammy person, you relabeled it as a blockchain. She was in the UK, some company named something 3 R3,
yeah.
And as Blythe Masters, and Bloomberg had a cover story, blockchain. And this was during the period when everyone said Bitcoin sucks. It's all about the blockchain over Bitcoin. And then that blew up. Fact is, they're all insolvent. It's remarkable that Ben Bernanke this past week and Jay Powell echoed the sentiment, saying that, he wished he had raised rates sooner, because by not raising rates sooner, they created the inflation that we're all suffering from now. Now, if you watch Max and Stacey for the last 20 years, we've been dead accurate on saying that all the money printing by all of these central banks and all of their lying about there being deflation, which is what they used to call inflation even a year and a half ago, the central bank would say, look at all this deflation, let's print more money, even though it was all inflation. There is no deflation. And they would cause this inflation. Now, of course, the genie's out of the bottle, and there's no way to raise rates fast enough or hard enough to stop systemic collapse. So now they're going to say, well, we should have raised rates earlier.